What's up, my essential unit? It's the Sentiment here. So this is my review of Raw is War for the 4th of August 1997. This is the first Raw after SummerSlam. This show was in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. Before we get to this Raw review, I need to address the last Raw review I did about a week ago. It was the final Raw before SummerSlam 1997. I've got to mention about Michael Mora. It wasn't my fault. I don't know who he is. I've done my research. He's a boxer. He fought Mike Tyson for the world title. He attended the Raw in Pittsburgh before SummerSlam 1997 in the match between Goldust and Rockabilly. Rockabilly's Billy Gunn, by the way. Billy Gunn kind of taunts Michael Mora, and Mora just knocked Billy Gunn the fuck out. I forgot to mention it. It's like, oh my god, I forgot to mention Michael Mora knocking out Billy Gunn. I can't recover, bringing up that segment into this Raw review, Mora knocking out Rockabilly. That was like the last Raw. Sorry about that, I forgot to mention it, so. Anyway, so like I said, this is the first Raw after SummerSlam. It's in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. You had Jim Ross interviewing Bret Hart and the Hart Foundation. Bret Hart, the WWF champion. Owen Hart, who just lost the Intercontinental title to Stone Cold Steve Austin. We'll get to Austin a little bit later. European champion British Bulldog. The loose cannon Brian Pillman. No Jim the Anvil Neidhart. I don't know, he's injured or something. Anyway, so Jim Ross said to Bret Hart about his match against the Undertaker with Shawn Michaels as the special guest referee. By the way, I did my review of SummerSlam 1997. Go and check it out. Anyway, so he brings up your fans around the world were pleased with you, not in the United States of America. Bret had that smile, says, it does gives you that smile. If you're suffering and did a crime, if you're not suffering, there is no crime. He said about he against all the odds. He's proved that he's the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be. That's his catchphrase, by the way. This Canadian gonna be smarter than those two Americans, referring to Shawn Michaels and the Undertaker. Said the WWF never stick to their word. Are they gonna stick to their word? Brings about Shawn Michaels needs to leave the United States of America. He said if he's never if he's favoring the Undertaker, never called down the middle in that world title match at SummerSlam, he will never wrestle in the United States of America. Anyway, so and then he going towards the Patriots. Said about his win against Bret Hart at the Go Home show before SummerSlam was a fluke. It was he only won because outside interference by Shawn Michaels. He said about he's a missile with nothing, he's nothing to me. And he pulled up he put over the British Bulldog. Said about his match against Ken Shamrock at SummerSlam for the European title. He shows no discipline. Sorry, speaking too fast. And they said Shamrock will never challenge the European title as long as Bulldog remains the champion. He said to Brian Pillman he ain't gonna wear a dress. Bret referring to himself as the sheriff and the boss. He said he's not gonna low to that level. The Hart Foundation is not gonna wear dresses. And then they go towards Owen Hart. Owen Hart, he basically cut promos, said about Austin. I made him as a crippled freak. I show compassion. He said multiple times he's a crippled freak. You're not gonna wrestle ever again. He said about you need to give me back the Intercontinental title belt because you stole it. And he said you were in a hospital. And then we got the return of Sergeant Slaughter, the former WWF champion Sergeant Slaughter. It's been 8 years, the days when he was the Iraqi sympathizer, winning the world title, feuding with Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania 7. He came back as he did team up with Nikolai Volkov. That didn't went anywhere. He had a run in the Indies before making his triumph return. And anyway, so he basically said about Bret Hart, "Say you're not the sheriff, I am." You know, he said he's gonna defend the WWF title against the Patriot at Ground Zero. We'll get to that pay-per-view. And when I come back from holidays, he said about, like, you know, to Bulldog, you're gonna defend the European title against Ken Shamrock. For Pillman, you're gonna wear the dress or you'll be suspended. For Owen, you're going to face Stone Cold Steve Austin for the Intercontinental title until, you know, the doctors give him the approval. Then Austin showing up, you know, he said about like, I don't need some approval, you know, I don't have to wear this crap, you know, referring to he's holding a neck brace. That was shocking, you know. I'm gonna say it right now, you know, I think SummerSlam 1970 was a comma for the Hart family. You know, it set up like, you know, set up the Montreal Screwjob and Owen's death in 1999. You know, it's a beginning of the end of Hearts. Anyway, so back to the Austin promo. So he said like you're not. I think he said you're not. Was it not stupid enough to pin me? You know, you're a loser. Not just saying that because veins blood run through your veins towards your family. He said to Owen, you're gonna get a can of whoop ass, and that's the bottom line. So it's not the last time we see Austin on the show. So anyway, it was a good promo segment. You know, the return of Sergeant Slaughter, Austin coming out. You can tell Austin was more. You can tell he was leaning. He was a tweener, but he was kind of acting heelish. But you can tell like he's leaning more babyface-ish. You know, after, you know, the neck injury, you can tell like they're getting more. Yeah, the fans are getting more simp towards Austin because that was a nasty accident. You know, broke his neck. So anyway, so if I forgot mentioned in Bret's promo in this review, sorry, just write down in the comment section below. So anyway, so the first match to kick off this episode of Monday Night Raw, you had Karma, the future Godfather, the future Good Father, when he was part of the Right to Censor group in the year 2000, taking on the world's most dangerous man, Ken Shamrock. Before that, you know, you had Vince interviewing Farouk, the leader of the nation, talking about at Ground Zero, they're gonna, you know, he's gonna be in a triple threat match against leaders of other factions, you know, facing Savio Vega, leader of the Los Boricuas, and Crush, leader of the Disciple of Apocalypse. You know, he said like, you can take the man off the street, but you'll never take the street out of the man. So anyway, so, you know, he said about Karma's he's gonna take out Shamrock. You know, Ahmed Johnson's gonna take out Chains. Ahmed Johnson said who, and and then Farouk says wherever he is, and I think Ahmed Johnson says, you know, you can take the hood of the boy from the hood, but you never take the hood from the boy. So I don't know what it means. You know, Ahmed Johnson is not really a good talker. So anyway, so the match between Ahmed Johnson versus Karma, it was filler. So the matches on the card were filler to me. Sorry, but anyway, so keep it short and simple. The match, you know, first off, you had Sergeant Slaughter, the new commissioner, basically basically kicked out the rest of the nation. Farouk, D'Lo Brown, and Ahmed Johnson, kicked them out. You know, make sure there's no outside interference, but there were outside interference by Los Boricuas. That was I think you had Miguel and Costello interfered. So in the end, Shamrock hit Karma with I think it was a belly-to-belly suplex for the win. So it gave Ken Shamrock some like a bounce back after he didn't like lost to Bulldog. Yeah, he got himself disqualified in his match against the British Bulldog at SummerSlam 1997. So anyway, so yeah, another video package of Baracus. You know, don't know who he is. You know, he didn't last long. You know, he's got that good. He's just a German with that good physique. You know, that's Vince wants. Like over the years, Hogan, Luger, Cena. Sorry, my throat's a bit dry, but anyway, so the next match, this is a light heavyweight championship match. Not championship match, light heavyweight division match. Anyway, so we got Taka Michinoku, who will soon to be becoming the first light heavyweight champion in the company's history, taking on Too Sexy Brian Christopher. The match was okay. Lawler is basically, you can tell, like, they never addressed like Lawler, Lawler's Brian Christopher's son. Anyway, so in the end, Taka Michinoku got the victory. I think he rolled up Brian Christopher for the win. Afterwards, Brian Christopher attacked Taka Michinoku, threw him out of the ring. Yeah, they give Brian Christopher a singles run. What was it? No disrespect with Brian Christopher. He's badly. He's recently passed away in 2018, but it's like Billy Gunn, at Rockabilly. They give these guys a single run. I don't call them singles pushes, but giving them a single run, it's just like, it's not going to go anywhere. He got popular when he was part 2 Cool with Sky Too Hotty and Rikishi. Anyway, so moving on to the next match. So the next match, we got Hunter Hearst Helmsley taking on Vader. You had Chyna in Helmsley's corner. That's the future Triple H, by the way. And in Vader's corner, you got Paul Bearer. You had an interview segment with Vince McMahon interviewing Paul Bearer. Said about like this match might between the managers. I think he's referring to Chyna is gonna beat Paul Bearer. We'll get to that shortly. It said like if that was the way to go, this match already finished. I forgot more of this business than Chyna ever was, because Chyna's been in the business for 1996. A year or 2 years. Anyway, so the match was on paper was okay. Both two good workers. The shame they didn't got enough time. You had Chyna drop kicking Paul Bearer. They're both the same heights. Chyna is basically reality is 5'10". They always hype her up like she's close to 6 feet tall, but she's never do a lot of drop kicks. Chyna is more of the strength. So the match ended in a double count out, and that was it. So Vader in the doghouse. Just what it is. Vader's in the doghouse. If he never did that, attack that interviewer, in Kuwait, maybe he might still be relevant. The next match, we got the Patriots. That's Dale Wilkes, the late Dale Wilkes, because he passed away, I think it was last year. Taking on the Sultan with the Iron Sheik, the future WWF champion, the Iron Sheik. The Sultan is the future Rikishi, by the way. The former Fatu, part of the Head Shrinkers and the Samoan SWAT team. Anyway, so Dale Wilkes, he got an okay promo. Said about like the biggest problem in America is you, Bret Hart. You run down, you're talking bad about the system. You're making a living in this country. Keep providing your family. You said it's the fluke. He talks about the title match. It's all for the marbles. I'm gonna prove that's no fluke. The match was just filler, to be honest. Basically, you had a bit of a flag off. Both guys waving flags. The Sultan waving the Iranian flag, and the Patriots, came out with the future Kurt Angle theme music, waving the American flag. When the Sultan waving the flag, had the fans not react. When the Patriot waving the United States flag, they got a reaction. So anyway, the match was just meh. In the end, the Patriots got the victory. He's 2-0 because he beat Bret Hart on the Go Home show before SummerSlam the previous week. He hit the Sultan with the I think it was a full Nelson powerbomb. That is his finisher for the win. So it's building up the Patriot for Bret Hart at Ground Zero. Afterwards, Bret and Patriot end up brawling. So, yeah, the Patriots, good worker, but the problem is bad gimmick. So, they end up feuding for the rest, really in the autumn of '97, before Bret end up facing Shawn Michaels. And speaking of Shawn Michaels, we got this promo. Shawn came out with boos, because people want to see Bret Hart leaving the United States of America. The booing Shawn. Try to keep it short and simple, guys. Anyway, so Shawn came out, said about the fans, Bret Hart, revert to Vince McMahon, taking the dump in the Heartbreak Kid's lap. He said about he's called down the middle, he said I don't give a damn about what people think about me. And Vince said to Shawn, "Are you in coots?" Asked Shawn, "Are you in coots with Bret Hart?" And Shawn says, "I always thought you were a Nimrod. You just convinced me." Called him a dumbest son of a bitch I ever met. He said about I'm shivering. I was shivering. Was it shivering in my? I'm gonna shiver. Excuse me, I'm gonna shiver in my loafers and shut. And Vince basically snapped. You're gonna shiver when you face the Undertaker. And anyway, so and sometimes in this promo segment, Shawn told Vince to shut up. Anyway, so and give him the microphone, and Shawn just said about I'm not in cahoots with Bret Hart. He doesn't respect me. I hate him, but he always need me. He said about him and the Undertaker. We never chose close. Was it never show eye and eye. You never close paths. Oh, shit, what's that word again? Had it. Close paths. Yeah, close path. Yeah, is it close path? Anyway, he said about I never bow down to everyone, and the fans are booing. He said 10 years I give you. This is the respect. That's the respect you give me. He told the fans to go to hell, and he said about the Undertaker. If you and I met eye to eye. I'm gonna super kick. And I think he said he's gonna super kick you, and my foot's gonna shove his foot down your throat. I'm trying to remember the promo that well, but anyway, I think it's chose never close paths. I can't remember the promo that well. I think it's something like that, because we'll get to we'll get to Ground Zero in a couple weeks' time. So anyway, then the Undertaker, Shawn as a heel, because everyone knows Bret Hart and Shawn they hate each other in real life. I think it's a sign for Shawn for basically trying to show off Bret who's could be the top heel. Because Bret's the top heel now. Shawn's the top heel. I think it's you can say a double turn because Shawn's the heel. Austin is more leaning babyface. Still face, but he's more of an asshole. But anyway, so Undertaker shows up, says about I don't need to tell you how I'm mad am I or bad am I. I'm gonna prove what I do best. Taking souls and make people rest in peace. He said to Shawn Michaels, you gotta look me in the eye. What crimes you did, what you committed. And then you got Paul Bearer, on the Titantron says, well. Said about you're a criminal, you're a murderer, he says Kane is coming, and let's move on. I'm trying to keep it short and simple, otherwise it'll be a fucking hour-long, Raw review. Anyway, so it was a good promo. So moving on to the next match. So the next match of Ahmed Johnson versus Chains. Chains is Brian Lee, the former fake Undertaker. saying similar to the Karma Ken Shamrock match from the opener. Sergeant Slaughter came out, kicked both members of DOA and Nations out, make sure there's no outside interference. But it was, yep, outside interference. You had members of Los Boricuas. I think you had Savio Vega gone into one of the DOA's motorcycles. In the end, Ahmed Johnson hit Chains with the Pure River Plunge for the win. And also, really the whole bulk of the match, you had Chains working on the injured leg of Ahmed Johnson, who suffered a repaired injured knee because he suffered a knee injury the previous month, leading up to Johnson's match with The Undertaker at Canadian Stampede. Vader took his place, by the way. Anyway, so Johnson selling the knee injury. You can tell he re-injured his knee. Members of DOA, trying to get in the ring. The other members of the nation trying to get in the ring, defend his fellow teammate. But swerve. It was a swerve. The members of the Nation of Domination turned on Ahmed Johnson, and that was pointless. So what's the point of having Ahmed Johnson in the Nation of Domination in the first place? Don't get it. So this has led up to bringing The Rock into the group for the best, And I feel sorry for Ahmed Johnson. He's a good worker, but it has to do. He never stayed fit. He never stayed healthy. And also, before we get to the next segment, before the start of the match between Chains and Johnson, you had this segment with Sergeant Slaughter interviewing a doctor, sort of an awesome cannot compete. He suffered a spinal syndrome. So I don't want to get into it. So it's just learning information that Austin he's not going to compete. He's not medical cleared. But let's move on to the next match. So the next match, we've got Brian Pillman versus Bob Holly. I'm going to talk about right now. You had this earlier segment with basically Slaughter knocking on Pillman's door, give Pillman the dress, and Pillman says, I'm not going to wear it, I know you had your jollies, pushing your privates around the barracks, you're not going to push my privates, and Slaughter says, you got so basically you have to win a match. Pillman has to win the match to make sure he's not going to win the dress again, otherwise you're going to be suspended. And then you got, in this match between Brian Pillman versus Bob Holly, we'll get to that shortly. Bob Holly's at the time was doing the race car driving gimmick before he became Hardcore Holly, part of the Jump Squad and beyond. Anyway, so you had Michael Cole interviewing Marlena and Goldust. Marlena said like Pillman recently he's not acting like a gentleman. I'm curious to see is he act like a lady. And and then Goldust says about like I won't miss it in the world to see him wearing my wife's dress. Anyway, the match was just meh. The fans taking piss out of Pillman. Pillman was hesitating not to enter the ring, wearing the dress. Slaughter kind of picked him up, pushed him forced him to get into the ring to wrestle. The fans were taking the piss out of Pillman. You had Pillman confronting Goldust and Marlena. They were holding like a bra. The match ended in a count-out. And Bob Holly won the match via the count-out. So, because Pillman had to win the match to make sure he's not going to wear a dress. So, it was more Pillman wearing the dress than the match itself. So, let's move on to the main event. So, the main event, we got Owen Hart versus Dude Love. Dude Love is one half of the WWF Tag Team Championships. Before that, you had Bret Hart showing up. Vince basically confronting Bret. You're gonna show up wherever you want. You're gonna show up on commentary. You can tell that the stuff recently with Bret, and Vince arguing, basically having that fight. In this segment, in this during this match, no, before the start of the main event, you had Vince and Bret Vince confronting Bret, and also you had Austin, Stone Cold, Vince McMahon, you can tell that they're planting more of the seeds of Vince getting away from the commentary booth. Even though Vince is the owner, right, not right now because it's run by the company's run by Triple H, but back then everyone knows he was the owner, but he isn't a commentator, But they were planting the seeds before the Montreal Screwjob. So the match was, I think it was match of the night, but that's not saying too much. It's not going to be a technical masterpiece. It was a fun match to watch between Owen and Dude Love. You had, I think you had Jim Ross confronting Lawler, or no, I think you had Vince confronting Lawler because he's sitting next to Bret Hart, because Bret and Lawler did feud. Now all of a sudden they're friends, besties. Anyway, so Bret came out of his commentate booth, attacked Dude Love. Then Austin came to the rescue, about attempt to come to the rescue, but you got Suits and Ties, Sergeant Slaughter, the Future Stooges, all Vince McMahon, that's Pat Patterson and Gerald Briscoe, came to the trying to stop Professor Austin to attack Bret. Bret was egging him on. So in the end, he hits Owen with one of Owen's Slammy Awards. Doolittle got the victory, and that was it. So anyway, and he also had Doolittle fans. Yeah, Doolittle fans. Like female fans with the Doolittle tattoos around their tits. Their chests. So anyway, this episode of Monday Night Raw was bang average. The wrestling. Pillman in the good for me has to be Owen and Dude Love. Pillman in the wearing the dress. Sergeant Slaughter. He appeared 4 times or 5 times in this Raw. It was okay. Wasn't anything. It was getting annoying, but it just showcased his authority. So the rest of the card was trash. They're mostly piss break segments. Or piss break matches, I'm trying to say, killing time because it was technically a 2-hour Raw. I wish they go back to 2 hours in our current timeline. I hope they come back. I hope they go back to 2 hours. The 3-hour Raw. They've been doing it for 10 years. It's a fucking disaster, man. So, it's boring. But anyway, so I hope you enjoyed my review of Monday Night Raw. From the 4th of August, 1997. Leave your thoughts, comments below. Smash my button, click the like, click the bell, subscribe to the Central 9 Network on YouTube. Be part of the Central Unit for more, wrestling videos for more. And this is the Central Man Official sign out. Check you later, guys.